anyway. But yeah, welcome. We're here with Daniel Phillips, also known as Big D, local musical legend, captain of the old guard of music here in Vincennes, Indiana.
And there's an even older guard than me, so I was kind of, one time I was the young new kid on the block, and so now I kind of feel like I'm that old guard kind of guy there. But I thought it was great to see all of that young guard kind of up there this past Saturday.
Yeah, we had
people
Jared
like you guys
Lee.
stepping up,
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah, me, Michael Robinson, Kyler Shields, Victoria Robinson. I'm forgetting some people.
Yeah,
I
you start
apologize.
naming names.
Yeah, I mean, it was a group effort, and that's something that we wanted to focus on, keeping it all local. And I think we succeeded, you know, and to have you come in and close out the night. Hell, by the end of the night, it was just me and you sitting there.
Yeah, we were the only ones
Literally
left.
just me and you.
They were just, it got thinner and thinner and thinner, but
Yeah.
I kind of expected that. I mean,
Yeah.
what was it, about 104 in
Yeah.
heat index?
104.
And when you have a successful show like that, you know, everybody's hot and sweaty. I think it did what it was supposed to do, kind of a cool down period, kind of a laid back time, and, you know, we were looking to have some jamming, but, you know, I've been
Yeah.
on that side where you're there all day. And
I
then
was there the night before
then you
as
get
well.
to play, and you're sweaty and hot, and then you load your stuff, and it's like, man, I'm
Yeah.
crashing.
And props to Mike Stumpf. What a
Oh, my
pro.
goodness.
What a professional. We just lucked out, man. All the right pieces fell in the right places. Everybody that came out, I was walking around while the show was going on, just making sure, like, hey, is there anything that you would like to see differently next year? No, not really.
I
said
think people were so excited to, A, get to do something, and B, live music in Vincennes, and we'll probably talk about this later on, but
Yeah.
I mean, Vincennes used to always be a mecca. Any given night, you would have maybe 3 bands playing, and the gigs would be Tuesday through Saturday, Wednesday through Saturday. You know, country here, a little country rock there, swing over here, but there was always a good couple rock bands going. And
Well, I mean, really, somebody brought this up to me a couple weeks ago when we told them we were throwing the show, but Vincennes is in a very advantageous position as far as, you know, geographically. Like, we're in the middle of the country, more or less, you know, the Midwest.
Yeah.
I never understood that Midwest.
because
but
the Midwest to me is Kansas and
right.
Oklahoma.
But, I mean, as far as we've got Chicago, Nashville, Indy,
St. Louis is over here.
right, St. Louis,
Cincinnati would be going.
Louisville.
Yeah.
We're between all those, more not exactly, but it's a great place to throw a show, and then also you take into account the cover in front of the stage there.
Well,
you know, the way the rendezvous grounds
we
are
can
set
even
up.
we can even get closer because you really got Terre Haute, Evansville, Bloomington.
Yeah.
And Vincennes is kind of here, so that's how we always looked at it. Was Terre Haute had a scene, Bloomington has a scene, Evansville has a scene. Vincennes was kind of a good in between. A lot of bands would come through to play on a Wednesday, and it was a gas gig for them. You know, they were on their way to St. Louis, on their way to Chicago.
A gas gig. I've never heard that.
Well,
terminology.
that's when you
pretty
you
cool.
do a one-night gig, trying to sell T-shirts or CDs.
merch.
And you
yeah.
didn't do because the gig would be 150, you know, and it was basically to cut your gas loss driving from Chicago to St. Louis or Cincinnati.
With
over.
inflation, that's like $3.50 now.
Yeah,
or
so
something
you
like
were just
that.
hoping
Yeah.
that you'd get 15 people buy a T-shirt.
Just trying to get your damn name out there, right?
It was all about eating something other than bologna.
And meeting some people.
The next day, yeah, big time.
Meeting some people.
Yeah, well, that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah. Oh, man, I always wondered what it was like to be a road dog. I mean, I took off hitchhiking when I was 19 and just did it hobo style.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I always had a guitar with me. But to do it officially with your best friends, God, that's got to be a great feeling.
Well,
I mean, I got a little taste of it at the Electric River Jam this past weekend.
that would be a glorious
about
taste
what
of it.
what it's like to be a part of something. And
Well, we've got some bands in this area that are kind of doing some stuff like that. You know,
Yeah.
my era of kids, that's all you thought about. You read Circus Magazine or Rolling Stone or Hit Parader. And
to see my picture on the cover
yeah,
of the
I mean,
Rolling Stone.
all you thought about was we're gonna bust out of this place. We're gonna leave Knox.
Yeah.
As it would be, and that's the only way back then you could do it. You could send off promo tapes, but who was going to see that? So you had to kind of go out on the road, and then there's a billion of you doing it. I think the big thing I learned on the road was every town, every little tiny town, there's musicians all over the place. There's guys that, you know, you go to parties after a gig and a kid picks up the guitar, just shreds on it, and you're like, well, the hell are you doing?
And everybody, all the normal, well, I don't hate to say that, normal people, but all the people who are non-musically inclined are like, why aren't you doing something like this?
And you
if I
want,
had that talent,
you wonder
yeah.
that, and then back then there was a big discrepancy between the cover bands and the original guys. The original guys, well, we're not going to play bars, we're not going to, and I was always like, well, you
can do both. Yeah.
you can, but
Yeah.
I mean, if you're playing music, you really want to play it to get that reward of somebody listening to you and liking it. And then sometimes the only way you can do that is do some covers to get the gig, and then throw the originals in there, sprinkle them in there. Then over time, people start wanting to hear the original more than they want to hear the cover.
Yeah.
And that's the only way you're going to get seen. But
Kind of build it into the local
Yeah.
culture. Yeah.
and so we did that. I got to realize that dream. If you go to my high school yearbook, you'll see what my goals are, and was to play music, make a living playing music, which wasn't about being a star.
Yeah.
That's not. I was never in it for the girls and never in it for the stardom. I wanted to be able to be 60 years old.
Most people get filtered out pretty quick, I imagine.
Yeah, ideally,
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to live a life playing music that,
Doing what you love, yeah.
and I almost was there. I mean, I still play every week, and I still make money playing now. The acoustic
Well, you're a
show.
household name around
Well,
here. Like, you're the biggest.
It doesn't pay the bills though.
Right.
So God, I think I just
Well, it pays the bills in your heart and
right.
soul.
And,
yeah.
and honestly now, and I work at VU and have been there 25 years.
What do you do over there?
I'm technology in the electronics department, manufacturing. So I kind
I
of
didn't even know you worked there until like last week when we
fix
were
equipment.
talking.
Well,
Yeah.
there just came a time where you get tired of eating peanut butter jelly sandwiches, macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
That's cool when you're 22 and 23 and 26, and then you get to be like I was, I think 29, 30 when we got off the road. We kind of came off the road because our truck blew up, got a job at the Roundup, which was a club here in town, and just we never did go back out. Everybody was burnt. The road will eat you up, but you did the hobo thing. You know, it's
Yeah.
tough every day to, you know, if anything happens, a bus tire blows, we would be en route to some gig and the agent would call it. There was no cell phones then, so you had to stop at a gas station and call them, collect, you know, and well, the guy hung himself, or they lost their liquor license, or Bon Jovi came into town and, you know.
Stole your spot.
Well, yeah, you know, Tuesday night you're there and Bon Jovi's throwing a 33 kegger for free across the street, so
Yeah.
we're going to cancel you. So, you know, but when at 22, 23, man, that's what you dream of, you know.
And you got the guts and the grit to do it.
It
yeah.
takes some. I mean, I basically dropped out of college, and I was a good student, so I had to go to my parents and say, I'm bailing, you know.
How did Pops take that?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That was not a pleasant time. Fortunately, my mom was. I keep thinking we're talking to that thing.
No, it's dead. It died.
My
My
mom
bad.
was always
Yeah.
supportive, and Dad was supportive. But Dad was, as I look back on it now,
He was shaking his head. The
I
whole
totally
time.
get.
Yeah.
Well, I totally get where he's coming from.
Yeah.
You know, he wanted me to.
Be secure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, when you get to be 29, where I was at before I went off the subject, you know, I came off the road, had to get a job, and I ended up working at Kentucky Fried Chicken, frying chicken all day. I don't even like chicken, and you know, I knew I have to do something. I was in a band
This
called
can't be all there is to life.
Atomic Farm
yeah.
Boys. Got formed off to that, which became a big local
Yeah,
band.
who was all in that band? Because I saw
Farm-
you guys play at Greg Park once when I was like 10.
Yeah, I was gonna
like,
say, you'd
my
be
cousin,
pretty
my cousin
young.
Tom Ray,
Yeah.
said we got to go check these guys out, and I think Kemp was in there, wasn't he?
Kemp, with the sound production was Kemp Music, and Brad Laughlin was really the guy that did that. Band wise, it was always me and Kevin Van Horn. We were from Linton. Me and Kevin and gosh, who else in the dang band? Danny Holmes. I don't know if you
Okay.
know Danny.
No,
And
no.
Mike Werman, who's
I'd know him
who's
if I
Vince
saw
Hill's
him.
boy.
Yeah.
Well, Danny's up in Terre Haute, and then about midway through, Dennis Kemper came in on guitar, and Mike Nash came in on bass. So that.
You had a rotating cast.
Well, we were the same guys for 11 years,
Right.
and then you know, towards the end we kind of changed. And Dennis, and the thing that's great about it is everybody still plays in bands. Everybody's still doing it. We could logically roll up together now, and
So you had some legends, or like.
well, these guys are Dennis is notorious from Evansville, playing with Chet and the Molesters, and you
No
know,
shit.
and yeah. So I mean, he and our drummer Kevin, they play in Ugly Early, which is out of Bedford. Danny Holmes has been in numerous bands in Terre Haute. Mike Nash is still playing. Mike Werman and I were just in a band called Charlie Foxtrot that just just into our little run. So
Do you ever miss, like, because you do a lot of solo stuff now,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, you got to miss that, the camaraderie. I mean, what are
Yeah.
some of the, can you go through like a sort of brief, like a clip it version, a summary of like the perks of being in a band and the perks of running solo? I mean, do you
Yeah,
miss, you see what I'm
Well,
getting at?
yeah. The number one, being in a band is there's a feeling that you get.
Brothers, almost,
Yeah, you
yeah,
really are.
yeah.
If you've sweat through the rehearsals and you sweat through it's like a football team that practices every day, and then you score a touchdown, and when you nail a song live, and really when you get a good crowd, like I'm sure for the Leaving Knox guys,
Oh, yeah.
when
They're
they got
never
that,
going to forget
when they
that.
got that kind of response from, and we had that at several times in different kind of gigs. You really do become a family, and if you're a good family, you learn how to survive the good and the bad, and the arguments and the disagreements, and one of the things I used to see around here a lot was you'd have a good band and somebody get mad at somebody, and it would be I quit, and I think, well, that's a shame, because if you're like a family, you got to work through some of that stuff sometimes. But the band, the other thing is you're not alone. I'm always nervous as can be, just me and the guitar.
Still?
Yeah, I really do. It's why you see me at the bar all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
But the band is just a camaraderie, and something about hitting that power chord and the PA.
Wow.
That's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
And I've been in bands. I've not. Charlie Foxtrot didn't play around here because there isn't any rock bars that had
Yeah.
bands.
We're working on that.
We played
Yeah.
Cutter's 30th anniversary and had a huge crowd, and then there's just not that many places to play. We would play up in Robinson, Illinois, play over in Bridgeport, Illinois.
Well,
didn't want
man,
to travel.
on that note, me and my buddies had, after that overwhelming response this past weekend, we'd love to have you involved, but we're working on bringing it back. I mean, that's what the 501c3 is really about through
Right.
First City Music Festival. We want to, so, and I think once the bars around here start paying attention to the response that we have,
Yeah.
maybe it'll come back.
Well, it's a two-way street, Alex.
I agree.
It's a two-way street. Number one, if a place is willing to do it, people are willing to put in the work. And I was very happy that this happened for you guys.
Oh, yeah.
People have got to be willing to come out and support it. That's a big thing. I mean, you don't have to go to Evansville. You don't have to go to Bloomington. If you can get talent to come here, and we got talent.
Your own backyard.
Yeah. I mean, people have got to say, well, let's go check out this. Let's go check out that. People can't afford to go out every week. So I think that's another thing
Yeah.
that you have to think about. You can't-
driving
the
4
old days
hours
we
to-
used to have.
And
used
for
to have
some
bands
reason,
every
because
week.
of our location in the country, all the great bands show up and they play on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Who's coming to that unless you live in Chicago or something?
Yeah, and that's the
Yeah.
gas gig theory again. Is that
Yeah.
they're going to do the Friday or Saturday, one of the bigger draw type thing. But there was a time when Vincent's had all the top bands, and we're not talking about national acts, but pretty good regional bands come through, and it'd be nice to get back. I don't know that we're going to get back to that. I think you could have a place that
A
could have a
version of
live,
that,
could have a
maybe.
live
Yeah.
good band maybe once a month, and
Yeah.
the other times you could do some different things. But I told you before we went on doing this that there were times when there were 3 or 4 bands in town,
Competing.
Vincennes, and not
Yeah.
only that, but Washington had Alfred's had a bar, people played, Aldie had it, Princeton had it, so all of these small towns had.
What
I
were
mean,
some of the bands that you competed with?
Oh well, in our day, the big band we had was it was Andy Wan. What were they called? I don't remember them that well, but no, the competition thing is.
Yeah.
I can see it right now. We were all friends, and I got to see a lot of that this week. And I went when they were setting things up Friday afternoon. The guys in I'm gonna forget names, man. I'm terrible about it. Devin Hagermeyer and
Rollick.
and then all of
And
the
Icky
Leaving
Tongue
Knox
and the
guys
Exploding
and,
Barrels. Check them
I mean,
out, dude.
Everybody was joking around and laughing about this and sharing stories about how this and this and this and other things we really shouldn't talk about on any kind of
Right,
program. But competition it's a natural thing. It's going to happen.
It's good. It's good for music too because you
But
want to be
you-
better than the other
But
guy.
you
and
have to have mutual respect, and you have to be able to work with each other. And sometimes that means helping somebody out when you really like to kind of help yourself out.
Yeah.
It all comes back around full circle, and the list is long of people who've kind of bit out more than they should and said things they shouldn't say, and You know, it always finds its way back because everybody chatters and everybody talks about it.
Yeah, you can't help but get caught up in some gossip around here at any
Gossip?
given time.
Oh, you got to be
Yeah.
kidding me. I can
Yeah.
only imagine the stories that have been told about me.
Yeah.
I have heard the stories been told about me.
I've heard a few.
Yeah. Some of them are true.
So when exactly did you start playing? So, like, can you walk us through how you kind of came into the thing that you're doing now, which you're most known for? I would say.
Well, when I started
Big D Unplugged Thursday nights.
on my Facebook page,
Right, check him at Daniel Phillips on Facebook.
when I started playing guitar in the 5th grade, a long time ago,
Okay.
it was on a
Going way back, like
Yeah.
car seats. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. You guys weren't even thought about then.
Yeah.
It was on an acoustic, which I learned all the chords and I got my sophomore. I was 12 or 13. That's not sophomore. Mom got me a 12 string. Again, my mom come through because I listened to the Zeppelin tune. You got to have that. Everybody hates that song
I
now,
know.
but I know most people shouldn't. But the music store, Beasley's Music, had it on the wall, and I brought it down and played it.
Beasley's?
Mom said, they're not there anymore, but
Okay.
it's in Linton. And mom heard it, and she said, boy, that sounded beautiful. Little tears coming in her eyes. And
Proud
I
of
said,
her boy.
everything would sound good with the 12-string, Mom. So that Christmas, I got one. That's what I started off playing. And I guess to cut through all of it, I've
That's
been
crazy. Most
been
people
in-
don't get to those till later.
I
you
know. I was the opposite.
Yeah.
I learned everything on a 12-string, an Alvarez 12-string.
It's a unique deal, yeah.
And so when I got the electric going, I could bend the strings pretty good because I'd done that. And I really was in rock bands all my life, 7th grade, 8th grade, all through high school. Got out.
What was your first band?
My first band, well, this is kind of funny, was my sister and I, we were called the Plaids.
Oh, that's clever, though.
Well, we were a Bay City Rollers tribute band. So I
I don't even know who that is, dude.
And the Beatles stuff, yeah. Well, SATURDAY, and I.
Oh, okay. Right on.
But really, my first band was a band in high school, and we called ourselves a bunch of names: Speed,
Whatever you thought
The
of that week.
Rocks.
Yeah.
Fire. Then we became Barracuda, and I think we became Freebird. Of course, we played a lot of that stuff. So through high school, I was in that, and that transformed into Freeline. But the really first serious one was a band called Leviathan, which became Bad Manners. I know I'm flying through here, but
No, it's
Bad
fine.
Manners is the band in '85 that eventually moved to Vincennes to go to college, and that's really where my world opened up because I got to meet all of Vincennes people.
So
and-
you were college age at this time?
yeah, I would
Okay.
have been 22, maybe 21. And Bad Manners,
Making
just,
the scene,
it
yeah.
just got, we got together and we kind of had a good singer, Ross Kincaid. A lot of people might know him. And we won a Battle of the Bands in Terre Haute over the band. Oh, I almost had them, the name of them. I can't believe that. Anyway, we won that. WZZQ was the big radio
You
station.
beat them that bad that nobody can remember.
No. People, they were a big band in Illinois. Louis Killian, rest his soul, he was the guitar player. We were all good friends. We took the money, bought a bus, painted the bus black because you had to take off the lights, couldn't have the yellow. And
For the highway.
and we just, through a guy in Evansville, we got an agent out of Georgia. And
Really?
poof, off we went.
An agent, huh?
And an agent. Yeah.
Not a manager, an agent. That's serious
He
business.
booked the Southern Talent International was the name of the company.
Wow. Heading to the dirty south.
And that's where we were. We went down there for about 6 months and came home and played Kramer's Lake in Evansville, and then lost our singer, got another guy, and off for another 6 months. And
So you
It's a
felt,
different-
but
it's a
inside your chest and your heart, when that's first happening, when it's new and it's blowing up, you got to just feel like a rock star already.
well,
you know?
it's pretty cool to tell your friends, while you hear them going to their 8 to 5 job and
Yeah.
making their house payment and going to little league games. And the odd thing is, as you get older, I wish I'd had some of that too. I
little
would have
bit,
liked that
yeah.
a little bit, but.
Well, that's a grass
It was
is always
cool to-
greener kind of thing.
Yeah, I
you know?
used to
Yeah.
call my parents and I'd say, "Oh, I'm in Birmingham, Alabama." Well, I wasn't.
Great
I was-
city, dude.
I
I've
was
been
in-
there.
I was
I
in
love
Anda-
that
I was in
place.
Andalusiac, Alabama.
Oh,
I was
okay.
playing out here.
Yeah.
Here, I wasn't going to tell them that.
I
But
live on the outskirts of LA.
we
kind of
eventually
thing,
got to
yeah.
where we were playing cool places. With Skid Row would be there one night. Y&T's another band, or
So you're on the marquee.
in Memphis.
yeah.
Tora got signed, and so I saw a lot of people that we knew in the bar scene that were on MTV. We just never had the cash flow. We could never finance doing anything. I think we were a pretty good band, but we didn't have.
It's weird what combination of things that I've only speaking objectively here, but the combination of things that come together to make a band to make it. You know, obviously there's talent involved, and then there's hard work.
Right.
But there's other things that you really don't have a lot of control over.
You don't have any control over.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear the stories all the time, you know, about the guy that gave a recording to every record company out there and everybody, and they passed over, and then all of a sudden one guy takes a chance for a ridiculous deal, and
sells his car to buy a studio.
Yeah,
or
next thing you know,
yeah.
Here's. Yeah, I've seen it. Well, we got it right here in our own community. We got. I don't want to name drop, but obviously Jared Lee is a phenomenal talent. Stephen Wagler from the
shout out
area.
Steve Wagler. Come back home, baby.
Well, you know he's
he's doing big things. I'm proud of him.
Tremendous songwriter. Yeah. I wish we could. If you got a Facebook page, it's just Stephen Wagler.
Yeah, look up Stephen Wagler. He just dropped some music on Spotify.
Right.
So you can find Stephen Wagler on Spotify. I think Jared's doing some stuff with Leaving Knox right now, as well as Hunky Monkeys.
Yeah.
Jared's all over the place.
Man about town.
Jared Lee is the utility player of the year, literally.
But you got to figure a guy like that could go somewhere and get hooked up with somebody. We got a lot of people in Vincennes who've gone off and done things like Bruce Bouillet comes to mind right off the bat. You know, we went out to L.A. and became part of Racer X, and now he's
Racer X. I've heard of that.
Yeah, he's doing his own. I mean, so it happens, guys. You always hear about guys from Indiana that have to leave. You know, Mick Mars is Motley Crue from Terre Haute. The singer from Guns N' Roses is Lafayette. So David Lee Roth is from Bloomington originally.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I just watched a podcast with David Lee Roth.
Everybody's got a bail, but you know, the internet has made things where you can record something. I just don't know how you get it in the right hands. There are no really record companies anymore. It's almost like self-independent.
There's so many avenues that you could take, and
it's the
Wild West.
Some days I think it's better, and some days it isn't. I don't think
you kind of get lost in the crowd a little bit.
Yeah, you don't. I think a band, you know, we used to always tell people when we would come home, is you really don't know what it's like until you are 19 hours away. You don't know anybody in the bar, and you're not playing for your friends, so you're going to get an honest opinion of what you do.
Objective.
Right, because you know your friends are not, they're not going to, oh, you sucked. They're not going to, well, your good friends will do that. Good friends will say you were off. But on a Tuesday in Meridian,
Mississippi, like, don't play that song.
You know, that wasn't your best card. Yeah. But a Tuesday in Meridian, Mississippi, when you're down to your last $5 and you've been, you know, you all put your money together to get a ramen noodle
down
fest
to the nut cutting.
Yeah, I mean, you got 13 of you in a school bus, and you know, when you can go that and have a crowd cheering and chanting your name, and you know, you slave through 5 sets.
That builds honest confidence. It's not.
Well, when we came home, we were triple the band we were when we left. We had learned. You can hear it in our old board recordings. There's a snap. You know, every little snip in this. Everybody's very, very tight and very, very smooth all the time.
How much of execution playing music comes down to confidence? Would you say if you had to put a percentage on it?
I think 70%.
Okay.
Confidence exudes.
But it's weird because you kind of have to earn the confidence. You know?
Well, yeah. I mean,
so how do you get it? You know,
you have to just do it.
Grinding.
I talked to
a lot of stand-up comedians say the same thing. That like they just had to bomb for a couple of years, and
you got to be able. You got to get a thick skin. That's for sure. Because you're always going to have the drunk dude in the corner that thinks you're shit. Yeah. You know, you're always going to have that. And
one time when I was
sorry
to cut in, but one time when I was a little kid, I was just starting to play guitar. I was teaching myself. I was like 12. And Jeremy Clymer's dad, Mark Clymer.
Yeah, I know Mark.
My brother was like, "Stop playing, you suck." And I was like, how dare you? And he said, "Listen." Mark Clymer came over, beer with him, and his trucker hat.
Imagine that.
Yeah, and he says, you're going to have to toughen up. Not everybody's going to like your music. And it kind of hit me then that. But now I just don't care. But we're not talking about me anyway.
But you're right, though. I think the confidence factor. Once you get out there and say, hey, you know this, because people are going to see your confidence. Yeah. Just like when you get up there and introduce the bands, or you're walking around, people are going to see the confidence. You believe in what you're doing, and you know that you're kicking ass.
And your intentions.
Even if inside yourself you're like, oh man, I don't know.
Yeah.
But if you look like you're doing it, they're going to buy into it and nod their head at you, and you're going to make that contact. It's going to be, yeah, man, that's right.
I found a lot of that comes from, in my limited experience, comes from I know my intentions are really well. A good friend of mine, Jeff Deckard, told me, you know, 'cause we both come from pretty rough beginnings, more or less, and I said, how do you deal with these people who are doubting you? And he said, your intentions are pure. You'll be fine.
That's a good
you
point.
know?
Yeah.
And you know, I've kind of rode that wave. But all right, D, we're gonna take a quick break, real quick, and we'll get back into it. But Big D, check you in a second. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this next performer is the guy I've been talking to for the last half hour. A good friend of mine and definitely a musical role model to all the musicians in the game of Vincent's. He's going to play us a tune. Big D, I'll leave it to you.
Good Lord. Well, this is the song that I've been playing on my Thursday night. He's going down. Thursday night things is I get to play stuff that I don't normally play. Jason Isbell is one of these guys that I really have gotten into lately. And this is lyrics. You got to listen to the lyrics. They're important. Called Alabama Pines. Well, I moved into this room, if you could call it that, a week ago. I never do what I'm supposed to do. I hardly even know my name anymore. When no one calls it out, it kind of vanishes away. Well, I can't get to sleep at night. The parking lot's so loud and bright. The AC hasn't worked in 20 years. Probably never made a single person cold. But I can't say the same for me, I've done it many times. Somebody take me home to those Alabama pines. Keep hitting the wrong chord, Alex.
It's all good.
You can drive to Talladega on a weekend in October. Just head up north to Jacksonville, cut around and over, watch your speed in Boiling Springs. They ain't got a thing to do, they'll get you every single time.
They will too.
If we pass through on a Sunday, better make a stop at Wayne's. It's the only liquor store north, and I can't stand the pain of being by myself without a little help on a Sunday afternoon. Somebody take me home through those Alabama pines. Somebody take me home through those Alabama pines. Big harmony part right here. It's easy. Well, I needed that damn woman like a dream needs gasoline. I tried to be some ancient kind of man, one that's never seen the beauty in this world. But I tried to chase it down, I tried to make it whole thing mine. I've been stuck here in this town, if you could call it that, a year or two. Well, I never do what I'm supposed to do. I don't even use a name anymore. When no one calls it out, it kind of vanishes away. No one gives a damn about the things I give a damn about. The liberties that we can't do without seem to disappear like ghosts in the air. We don't even care, it truly vanishes away. We delay.
Big D delay.
That's
Yeah,
it.
dude.
It's just a good tune.
I think you just got me into Jason Isbell. I keep hearing about this guy.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm telling you.
We were talking earlier, like, what's his style? You know, like, what is it?
do you
Americana?
call
Is
it?
it country? Is it?
Yeah, I hate to use country, but
Is it in the vein of John Prine? I mean,
yeah, I mean John
yeah.
Prine-ish. We mentioned Avett Brothers earlier, and that
I
kind of.
know he like Kyler's a big fan. Kyler Shields, shout out. Big fan of Tedeschi.
Susan Tedeschi.
Right, all
Tedeschi
all of
Trucks
them and
yeah.
Trucks. Yeah, Derek Trucks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I guess
I would
he's
kind
in.
of pull it in. I'd kind of pull it into that. At the same time, you could hear kind of old Eagles
Yeah.
in that kind of vibe, and it's really acoustic.
I'd say it's like Allman Brothers.
Yeah, I mean,
like next generation Allman.
Americana is
yeah.
really, I guess that's what they call it. But I play a lot more of this, you know. If I could play what I wanted to
Yeah.
play all the time, that and Beatles.
Yeah, what is that? What is that like having people call out? Because you see the Doors movie and all this stuff, and people are like, play, what's that Burning Fire song the Doors did?
Light My Fire.
Yeah, play
Yeah.
Light My Fire. You know, they would do that.
Well,
That's got to be annoying.
I think it's probably the biggest thing nobody thinks about, unless maybe you're doing it, and I'm doing it somewhat. All of us musicians,
Yeah.
and even you as a listener, I'm sure there are certain songs you're just like, please God.
Wonderwall.
Oh yeah. Oh, and I should have played that. That would have been great. I'm going to play this song for you.
Well, you don't even have to play it anymore. It's playing in your head.
I know.
You know, like I can.
But you
it's
get-
like Forrest Gump. I don't need to watch Forrest Gump anymore.
Yeah.
It's literally I know every scene.
I
Yeah.
think that's probably the part in a live band, a big band that's maybe had that hit. You know, they've played that song
Blue Oyster Cult.
every
Yeah.
event that they do, every appearance they do, every promo they do. That's the one for the rest of their life. If Neil Diamond has to sing "Sweet Caroline,"
You better love it.
but
Yeah.
I think he does love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, he gets the crowd singing with him.
That's the thing
yeah.
about it is people say, "I can't believe everybody's seen that meme or the picture where it's the wine list and it's Stairway to Heaven $40, Freebird $35, you know, Sweet Home Alabama." It's
Yeah.
I'm not playing unless you give me money for it. But I'm kind of like this. If I got a table of 8 people and they're partying with me and having a good time, and they want to hear that, and they're going to bring me a shot or drop a $10 bill in my tip jar.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna play for them. I'm not a stringent. People will yell Freebird as a joke, and I'm like, don't tempt me. I will play it. I mean, I'll play it on the 12-string guitar. I got no problem with it. So, but I would think I would think that would be a pain. And another example would be when we got off the road and played locally, and it's just different when you're playing on the road in a rock. They don't want to hear the hit song. They don't want to hear Crazy Train. They want to hear Flying High Again. They don't want to hear, I'm trying to think of, like Motley Crue. They wouldn't want to hear Dr. Feelgood. They would want to hear the album cut. So our set list was
B-side stuff.
Yeah, our set lists were, you had the CD or the album in my day.
I miss that.
You knew that's what you were listening for. Guns N' Roses was It's So Easy and you know, My Michelle. But when we came here and we would play a whole lot of Rosie by AC/DC or something like that, the first thing out of somebody's mouth, hey man, can you play Back in Black? Hey man, can you play Sweet Child of Mine? Hey man, can you play, like, oh God.
Well, I think they just want to sing along. You
Well,
know, like
you know, it's the song that became a hit for a reason. But
Yeah.
that's what I guess that's the only way I would be simulated to it, is that you almost know you got to play these songs. You know, to get
so you
people
might
up.
as well like embrace it and like really make a party.
My
out of it.
mindset
Yeah.
has always been, I am doing what I love to do.
Yeah,
You know,
and that should be.
so I've got to play some tunes that maybe aren't my favorite ones to play, and maybe I play stuff that has been played 10,000 times, or I could play behind my back, underneath my feet, with my face, you know, blinded. I'm being paid to play music on a stage, and people are sitting or listening to me. So.
And I
I'll
think
take
if
that
you're
any day
if you're
of the week.
grateful for that,
Yeah.
it translates on stage. Like, and that brings me to another point that I was really wanting to talk to you about. Like, I've seen you play. God, who knows how many times? Probably over 100 at least, just at Cutters. You know, over
15 years I've played
It's been a while, yeah. Every time I'd go to Cutters to check you out, you always interact with the crowd, but then you have the seedier element shows up at like midnight. Somebody who was cool at 10 is all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah.
You know how a bar can get it about midnight
Yeah.
or 1 in the morning.
Or you don't play the song they want you to play, and all of a sudden you're
Asshole number one.
Yeah, all of a sudden you didn't play, and go ahead with what you're saying.
No, but my main point here is that you're your grace on stage. That's how I'll put it. You're very graceful with drunk people. Like when we were breaking down at Electric River Jam Saturday night or Sunday morning, whatever you want to call it, we had a couple people hanging out there that were just schlammered, you know?
That's a good word.
But they were really what they were just,
I remember that.
They were just appreciating you, really.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like they kept asking me the same questions over and over, and they're falling over, and they're asking you ridiculous questions that you don't even know how to answer.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to like develop your grace with that? Because you handled it like you're just talking to them like anybody else, you know?
Yeah.
I was going off of you there.
It probably honestly is the years of doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing it a long time. The other part of it is my personality-wise. I'm just a non-confrontational guy.
Yeah.
Now, in saying that, I've definitely had nights where I went on a break and I come up and the guys just picked up my guitar and he's wiggling and wobbling.
Oh, no.
I've had plenty of those. And like, man, I'm a guitar player. I can play. I know, but I mean. And you grab it and you grab it, and so
You don't grab another man's guitar without permission.
And I'm the guy that will, in a bar, go up to a guy. I play guitar. If you ever played a 12-string, no, I haven't. Well, I will grab a $3,000 guitar and put it in your hands. And well, here, give it a shot. And I know it blows people's minds. But,
for the inspiration.
So I'm not. I think that's a strong point. Is you got to be able to know how to relate with people. You got to realize sometimes people are affected by the alcohol, because I certainly have been there before. I don't know. My dad was a life of the party kind of guy that would talk stories with people. My grandfathers were. I've somehow inherited that ability to kind of ride over things, and man, I got so many things flashing through my brain of various nights at Cutter's or Old Town or Willie's or any of those places I played. I think I've damn near played every place in this town.
So with that, you have. I don't doubt it a bit. Even places that aren't around anymore.
Well, there's a lot of places not around
Reds.
anymore.
You ever play at Reds?
I played Reds.
Yeah. Willie's.
I did about 8 years at Willie's.
The place has changed a lot.
15 years, and Willie's was a great.
It's had so many different owners.
I was there when Jeff Hendershots had it, and I went to a taco night, and I thought I was just starting this. I don't think we ever got to that deal, but I played the 12-string on the road at after-hours parties. Yeah. We'd all get together on a beach or somebody's hotel room, and just you just sing American Pie and all that kind of stuff. So when Farm Boys,
so you kind of discovered this new thing.
Back in the day, we used to all the bands would try to get to Cutter's before they closed. We'd play Washington, or like I told you earlier, it's different towns. Well, we'd all rush to get into Cutter's before 3. Now, they'd shut the door, but if you were in there, you were fine.
That's what I always loved about that place.
Yeah, so I had my guitar, and the whole bar would be singing and, just having a great time. And then finally it got to be, you really ought to, that's what you really ought to do. You ought to start doing these big sing-alongs. And
someone told you that, or you just...
People told me that a lot. They said,
right.
Well, you ought to do this. This would be great. And so I started to do like a Wednesday here. But I went to Jeff and I hand wrote a letter to him and said, I can see this being a great little acoustic place. I said, I'll play for $50, and he said, well, I'm not going to. And it turned out to be just like that. I would walk in and, man, it almost like Norm. It was like Big D. And we'd walk in and people would sing.
Sometimes you want to go.
Yeah, it really was a fun time. And then it just, like you say, it changed. I couldn't. Once you got the karaoke kind of rap thing going, and then I'd play acoustic, those worlds didn't.
They don't collide, or they don't combine, rather.
But I've been fortunate that I had a long run at Old Town. The Snaps ran that place for a while.
I miss Old Town.
Had a great. I was there the night that the grand opening, and of course, like I say, Cutter's has been big, and a lot of other different places. Hanks has been good to me over the years. Hopefully, going to get back over there.
Hanks is kind of picking back up.
Yeah,
from what I've been told.
Before the virus
really
hit,
bars anymore.
Before the virus hit, man, I played there about 3 times and really had good crowds. So I'm hoping.
So with that segues into to be a local celebrity.
Oh, God.
I know. You probably get noticed a lot. Are you ever afraid to? This is kind of a silly question because do you ever just think, man, I'm not in the mood today, and then you're like, man, I can't even go to the grocery store today because for sure somebody's gonna see me and walk
Well,
up and
that don't happen to me a whole lot.
It doesn't?
Well, I mean, it's you get guys that will know who you are.
yeah.
I tend to really think it's cool when somebody will come up. Especially I've had them come up with a kid. This is Big D. You're talking.
That's cool.
I've had that, and I've had others who've been with the grandpa, and the grandpa is like, well, I used to see Big D over at Mole's place on Willow Street, and this girl had her 21st birthday at Old Town where I was.
You were playing that
That
night, and
stuff's cool.
she'll never forget you.
Her stomach won't after she drank all that tequila, but.
Hi-yo.
I've had some. I think where you're going at is I've had some times where I'm tired. I think everybody has those days where you just, I just want to go to the store and get a Pop-Tart or whatever, Totino's Party Pizza or whatever, and you get cornered by somebody that don't really want to talk for 30 minutes about that. But I don't know.
Well, you always have that no matter who you are, trying to get away from somebody.
Yeah, you run into that's
close talker.
That's this guy, and I don't really want to. It's probably worse in a bar situation. I always think it's neat to run into people who've seen me play someplace, or somebody that I haven't seen in a long time. Who's, the best years I had were, my college years going to Gutters, or
You're part of
that
their
makes
life.
you feel pretty good.
Yeah, I bet it does.
Yeah, that does make you feel pretty good.
So-
And those are the times when I think, I could die tomorrow, I suppose. No, I didn't ever go to Chicago and become a famous. Now, I've played Chicago. I've done some bigger gigs, but
Beetle
that makes
Fest,
you,
yeah.
Beetle Fest is cool. Playing in front of 10,000 people is kind of a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
That's as nervous as I've ever been in my life.
Yeah, I bet.
That and playing at my dad's funeral, those two things were the worst things ever.
Well, that's like Sprinkle and Tyler Bynum were talking to me, and they said, because I interviewed them right after they slayed it, and brought down the house.
Yeah, they were feeling good.
Interviewed him on the stage with Chris's big old fancy camera, and I was feeling important.
I don't know what Jared was doing with that banana, though,
vicariously. Jared was, I don't know. Anyway, he's next week, I believe. I think I'll have Jared on next week. But anyway, leaving Knox, those guys were saying that they've played in some bigger shows, but there was something special about this one.
Hometown.
Yeah, because they looked out and they knew most of the faces. So maybe
There were-
there's something to be said that everybody could take home, everybody that's watching the podcast, or if there's any kids that happen to see this podcast who are thinking about becoming musicians and they're, like you called yourself, the old guard.
Yeah.
There's a value to being locally
You can never forget.
useful,
You can never forget where you're from.
part of the community.
And I
Yeah.
could see in those guys when you were talking to them in the pictures. We would have that same feeling. We would go off and play, but playing in front of the home folks. For me, it's people that
a home
were,
game, yeah.
the people
Yeah.
who remember you in junior high. You grew up with these guys,
Yeah.
and when they were first learning the craft, and you might have been thinking, man, this guy's going to be a great singer, and then there he is doing it. He's got that same feeling on the other side of that. There is
Yeah.
an awesome feeling to look out and see people you know and respect as your
He's
friends.
moving his hand. And,
Yeah, well,
everybody's rocking
and I
with
know
it.
I've had that.
God,
You
it
make
feels
eye
good.
contact
Yeah.
with somebody, and they're going, dude. I
I
think
want-
for us, we played Kramer's Lake. And that's probably well before your time. Great big gigantic lake in Evansville that had all the big Louisville bands. Everybody came through there. Well, we played there a couple times, and it was a bit scary because I don't know how many people were there in Evansville. Growing up,
Thousands,
Evansville
yeah.
was Evansville.
Yeah.
Evansville. And so we went down there, came out, and there were some Vincent's folks there, and all of them were just like, you could see pride coming out of there. Like, God, these are our guys. This is our guys doing this.
Representing, yeah.
And that was a great show. They ran the stage.
That's a good example of when tribalism is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
Even
good
if you
side
don't
of
like
tribalism.
maybe
Yeah.
somebody you don't like, and you're still going, hey, those are,
Yeah.
and you hope someday somebody gets out of here, and
Well, I hope that these kids these days realize that the rock and roll thing doesn't have to fade out. I don't think it's necessarily fading out. It's just become a lot more of a niche thing.
yeah,
Whereas back in your days, from what I'm gathering, it seemed like
yes.
everybody, that was the top-notch thing you could do. And
Yeah,
everybody
you-
was trying to take a whack at it. And now it's like, I don't know what these kids are aspiring to.
You had to. We didn't have a lot of I don't know how to put this as nice as like, you had to prove your shit.
Yeah.
You know,
Earn it, yeah.
these days I think a lot of times somebody will hand you a CD, and it's produced, it's layered, but can you pull that off live? Can you duplicate what you're doing?
Because
here?
that's the experience, the live
Right.
experience. I just got a taste of it.
When you're doing a live show now, obviously everybody I saw all the video, and I saw Leaving Knox, most of that stuff live. They all brought it. There was no not bringing it. So
their work was apparent.
when
you know?
back in the days when you didn't have CDs and you didn't have all that production, all that, the only way you could prove it was to go in there and do it. And bands would get axed all the time. You know, we got axed once in my entire career. I got fired once in Michigan, and it wasn't even because the band was bad. It's because the band up there was available, and they were like, "Well, we got to get them in there."
Yeah.
So they're like, "Well, we're sorry." I'm like, "Oh,
You just kind of got elbowed out.
yeah."
A little bit,
They band was nice. They let us put all their stuff, and I was just pissed.
We're not
I was
worthy.
pissed all to hell, and I went in the bar and I sat there, and then they came out. And they just
You're
blow
like,
us
oh,
away.
okay. You're like, oh, okay.
Dual keyboard rigs, and the guy just walked from side to side and get up there. And so, yeah, I mean, you just had to prove yourself a lot, and there's not much chance around here right now to do that.
So, what are some of your goals and ambitions for the future? I know you said you're 60. How old? 68?
I'm not 60 yet.
58.
Damn it. If I was
58,
60,
I'm sorry.
I'd be in the ground.
No, I just got kind of stymied there for a second. But you're 58. What are some of your goals now? I mean, do you have any grand goals? Do you want to? You want to teach anybody?
I wish I could say that I mean, I'm just happy. I get down every once in a while because sometimes it just seems no rocker. What's the Neil Young? You know, fade away, burn out.
Better to burn out.
Yeah, I
than
mean,
fade away.
you know, you get that feeling of when do you call it a day? When are you no longer a viable thing? And for the longest time, it seemed like I would play to a group, and then their younger brothers and sisters would come up, and it seemed like for generation, I'd get guys that would come up and want to hear Creedence, want to hear Pink Floyd, want to hear Petty, want to hear the Beatles. I was like, how do you even know this song? Well, my older brother, or my dad, or my grandpa, or my uncle, or a lot of that. And then one day, I came back. I always took a break football season to do radio, actually, and it was just a different crowd. So now, obviously, at my age, you're not going to play the 22, 23-year-old crowd. There's nothing I play that's going to do that.
Unless it's a niche thing that they're
It's
into.
got to be.
Yeah.
It's got to be people like yourself who've grown up liking it. I mean, I get a ton, even now, sitting here just like this with a 12-string. I'll still get somebody that want me to play a Dr. Dre tune. And I'm like,
it's not your wheelhouse.
The new country, at least I can understand because I'm sitting there playing a guitar. That's what it is. So now, things that I never thought I would ever do is play the Moose, the Eagles, the Elks. I never, growing up, that was old people. That was old. But, I'm not.
You're old now.
I'm not a spring chicken. So, but my age group is now who's there. So I'm playing Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, at the Moose Club in Petersburg, Indiana. I'm playing The Who, Pinball Wizard at Princeton's Eagles. So, they're kind of my people. My goal right now is I want to try to play as long as I can, health-wise. I don't want to get arthritis, and
oh God,
I mean, I've got issues. I got health issues like everybody does, but fortunately, my voice. I think I'm really lucky that
your voice is great.
As much as I've screamed and sang, a lot of you folks won't know, but back in the road band days, but back in I was a screamer. I was Cinderella, AC/DC, Accept, and super high screaming. Totally like Barracuda by heart. I was that guy, and everybody said, "How do you do that?" And but over the years, I learned to sing better regular songs like Boston and Styx, and that's still pretty high.
Yeah,
but for the most part, I can still do it. So I'm pretty proud of that fact, and I'm proud that I'm still. It feels good to be able to go. Like I tell you, the Electric River Jam did me a lot of good because
I think it did everybody.
It was
a lot
nice
of good.
It was nice to go and see. Number one, just getting to talk to some of the younger guys and some of the younger people, and I could see that they were. I felt
alive with it.
Well, I felt the respect coming from them, which is a good feeling, and I wanted them to know that I supported them. I thought, I want them to know that we all want everybody to succeed. We want this to succeed.
You're grandfathering them in, really.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I wish there was a chance to see them on a more regular basis, but you know,
We're working on
hopefully,
it,
hopefully something like that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's something I've been thinking about a lot lately because I love rock and roll, but my daughter and her friends, and I mean, I'm an 11-year-old and a 5-year-old now.
Yeah.
That kind of smacks me in the face.
Yeah, that's
sometimes.
reality.
But they listen to pop music pretty much, and
Yeah.
I wonder if it's just their little group or if it's all the kids. And it seems like it's all of them. And maybe it's not such a bad thing. That maybe rock and roll is just kind of. I would like to keep it alive for my own selfish interest, but maybe that's just the way things are.
The thing
you
about
know?
the pop stuff that's out there today, though, is that how is that ever going to be reproduced in a I mean, it's so heavy production. It's so heavy. You know, I don't know how to put it. Canned wheat.
No,
I never thought
understand.
I'd be that guy, but you know,
Canned wheat.
in my day, it was just like.
Maybe
you know, it's so
it'll go real small for a while, and then it will
Well, I think
blow back up in
I
about
think-
25
I
years.
think rock is always going to have a core. There's always going to be a crowd for it. While the other stuff comes and goes.
Hey, my.
Who's here today is not going to be here tomorrow, but Sabbath and Eddie and they're always going to be there.
They stay alive with us. All right, D. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. That was a great show, man. And hey,
Appreciate it.
I'm honored to have you here,
no.
and I was honored to work with you at the Electric River Jam.
It was
And,
fun. It was
Let's get
fun.
you back on here sometime in the
Yeah.
future. Maybe we'll work out a specialty show. Thanks, guys, for checking out Can I Kick It? If you want to find Daniel Phillips, you can find him on Facebook at Daniel Phillips. Is that 2 L's and 1 P?
2 L's, and just like Phillips, milk
Right.
magnesium.
And Big D plays every night on Thursday, and you can also catch him at pretty much any bar around
And
here.
if you go to Facebook,
Yeah.
I usually post where it's at. The bars aren't really doing anything for me around here, but it will be soon.
We'd love to see him at Cutters, just so everybody knows, whoever's listening.
I'm at the
All right.
Moose this Friday night in Vincennes, though.
All right, and that'll be the 16th.
Yeah, this will plenty air before then. won't it?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, yeah, it will. All right, thanks, D.
No problem.
Peace, guys. See you next week.